Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me. This is Yvonne McBride Lit Life. I'm Yvonne McBride, and in this space, we celebrate, we motivate, we support women of the African diaspora to live the life of their dreams. If that sounds like you, if that sounds like your lane, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. I'll wait a few minutes. And
Absolutely.
talking about inspiration, okay, so I started this channel. We're going to be all over the place today. I'm so excited about today's guest. I do not fangirl a lot, right? There are certain people, certain travelers who I fangirl about. This next guest, she is one of those people. But I the pitch is that I bring people on who I want to inspire you, who I want to motivate you, who I want them to share their life's journey, to get you to start thinking that you can do it too, to live outside the box. This interview is for me. when I say, when I say this is the life I want, when I say that in the introduction, when I say that in the description to get you all here, this is the life. This lady leads the life that I want. I got my notes here. So I brought her on so she can tell me how to get it, how to do it. I want specific information, but
Oh, goodness.
so I can stop gushing. Please, Annita Stokes Thomas, introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, look, let me tell you, you've got me now feeling a little some kind of way because I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say because I feel like I'm being inspired by you, my friend. Definitely. Because first of all, love the name of your show. But hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for some lively conversation. But my story goes kind of way back. I mean, we were talking a little bit before we got started. I said to you that I feel like travel is in my blood, and
Yes.
I truly, truly do. It's not just a saying. I really feel like maybe it is, if there's a way for that to happen, of course. But my father, it really all goes back to him. My father was in World War II, and he
Okay.
would always talk about, traveling to Paris and the little coffee shops and sitting and having croissants and the beautiful people and the cobblestone streets. And I remember as a kid going, what the heck is a cobblestone street? What is that? And just hearing all the stories about him being in North Africa. And literally, I would sit at his feet and just want him to just tell story after story. And he loved it, so he didn't mind doing it at all. But also, his father had been one of the first Pullman porters, the black men that
Yes.
worked on the trains, providing services for, passengers that were traveling, along the train line there. And my father loved, the Chattanooga Choo Choo song, and we'd sing that. So it's just some part of travel was always part of my life. And we travel and go down to my grandmother's house down in Florida for, vacations and everything. So to move to my little story a little fast forward, when I finished college, I knew I had to do something in travel.
Okay,
So
wait. Let's back up. Let's back up. Okay. So let's give context. Where did you grow up?
okay, yes, that might help a little bit. I am a Southern girl, definitely. So grew up in Georgia, born in Atlanta, but grew up in I guess you'd say the southwest part of Georgia. For
Okay.
those folks who know Georgia, would be kind of near LaGrange, Georgia, Columbus, Georgia, those areas of Georgia. But spent a lot of time in Atlanta because that's where my mom was from, and Florida, where my father was from. That's where we would go on the summer vacations. So definitely a Southern girl through and through.
And that's where you are right now, right?
Well, right now I'm down in near Sapelo, so I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But this is not the area of Georgia, South Georgia, where I grew up, where I
Okay.
am now. But it is now my new love of Georgia, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Okay. So we're going to get into origin story in a second, but usually I start with origin story, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited. She just came back from a trip. It was like a whirlwind trip. I have been trying to get Annita here. I've been watching her like, okay, I need a law in her schedule. Like I need to have a law in her schedule just for me to reach out to her, right? She never has a law. So I was like, let me just jump out there. You just came back. Well, I'll let you say it. Where did you just come back from?
I just came back on Saturday from Switzerland. and had a wonderful time. I mean, Switzerland is a beautiful country. Had a wonderful time there, going from started in Zurich and went to several different cities on the Swiss wonderful transportation system. But to give you a little context of why I was even there, it all started with me wanting to write an article about a basketball player with Atlanta Hawks named Clint. I think of Clint's last name. I have kind of like a brain fog here. But wanted to write an article about him growing up in Geneva, Switzerland,
Hmm.
and now he's over here in the United States playing ball. And we just could never really kind of get that whole thing together. And I asked the tourism folks, I said, well, what about Black culture? I mean, what Black culture, Black history, what is in Switzerland, for Black folks to go over there and see? What's over there for us? And, she said there's a lot of things. So I was like, well, okay, I've been to Switzerland quite a few times, especially my previous job. I used to be a flight attendant. And so we put this whole itinerary together for me to go to Switzerland and go to Bern, and then also go to Lausanne, which is different from Lucerne.
Okay.
Make that distinction there, because I had to make that distinction. To check out some things that are happening with the Black, or our diaspora, focus on it. So, if you want me to tell you a little bit about the first one, it's really something that people want to put on their list, I think.
Yes, please. That's yes. We're here to talk about all the travel and all the experiences. Yes.
Well, I have so much to share, so I just want to make sure I'm getting it all in and starting in the right spot. But yeah, in Bern, I had a chance to stay at the Jazz Hotel. And the Jazz Hotel, this couple has been putting on jazz concerts. It's a white couple, but they've been putting on jazz concerts for the last like 40 plus 45 years of having jazz musicians come to their hotel and play in a jazz room that they have in the bottom of the basement of the hotel. I mean, and
What
they
is
have
the hotel called? What is the name of the hotel?
the hotel is called Inners, Innsere,
Okay.
unique hotel. But if you Google Jazz Hotel in Bern, Bern, you will definitely find the hotel there.
Okay.
Um, they have concerts 9 months out of the year.
Wow.
So you can go over, and each week they have a different musician that comes, and they have jazz musicians from the U.S. and from other places around the world. So not just only U.S. artists, but certainly people that you would have heard of. I mean, the floor where I stayed, there was a big picture of Dizzy Gillespie there on the wall. So I mean, it's all the top jazz people. So definitely that. I was able to see that. And Switzerland is also known for jazz in other cities as well. They have jazz festivals in several cities, around the country. But one of the things that I would say was most surprising while I was also in Bern, I went to in Lausanne, is I went to a photography museum.
Uh-huh.
And there was an African American man and his photography being featured there, Tyler Mitchell.
Okay.
This photography kind of captures, the African diaspora, focuses a lot on his home and his area where he grew up, which is Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh
And I
wow.
didn't even realize that until I got there. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's like a homeboy here. So I got a
Does
chance to
he
see.
live in Switzerland? Do you know?
No, he wasn't living in Switzerland. I'm sure he's traveled there.
Okay.
But yeah, he has all of his photography featured there as part of a great expedition. So it was really good to see that. It was interesting to see, how other people that were in the museum, because I was the only Black person there, but how other people were, responding to his photography. And that was a great interest. I mean, they were going along, they were reading the descriptions and, taking it all in. So it was very fascinating actually to see that.
Well, I know jazz is one of my interests. My novel, if it ever comes out, is about Pittsburgh was a jazz hub during the jazz age. So that is the theme of my one of my novels. And yeah, so I'm interested in the hotel there. Have to
Well,
check
you
it
can
out.
yeah, definitely check it out. And like I said, I mean, if you just Google Jazz Hotel in Bern, you'll get all the information there. They're wrapping up, this 2025, this part of 2025's concert series
Okay.
at the end of May, but they'll start it up again in the fall. And run it for, all the way over until the end of May, 2026. So it's definitely some opportunities to go. And Bern is really easy to get to. I mean, you fly into Zurich, you can take the train, as I mentioned earlier. The transportation in Switzerland is very, very easy to maneuver around. They have great train systems that can get you really quickly from Zurich right over to Bern. So
So,
definitely.
okay, I see there's a few people who are popping in and out. When you come into the room, please say hello so I can thank you for joining us. But okay, so you said that you were there, you wanted to write an article. Were you writing for yourself, for your blog, or were you writing for a certain magazine?
Well, I do most of my travel, and when I come back and report on it, it's definitely for my radio show, Travel with Annita. So there definitely would be a show about that. But I would definitely be pitching some different publications to write about this
Okay.
experience, because something else that was another very interesting thing I got a chance to see was a museum in Bern where they had an exhibit of this wall art that was finally taken down off of a school wall. And on the mural were these three characters that were part of the ABCs that were there for kids to learn their ABCs.
Uh-huh.
And there was an African man that was there for the letter N.
Oh.
Yes. There was a native, well, we would call them Native American here, that was there for the letter I.
Oh.
There was also a Chinese person there that was there for, the letter as well. So they had these three characters, and then the rest of the letters were animals or a boat or something like that to give a
And where
name.
was this? This was on a school, some mural?
Yes, this was on a school mural and that had been there for 70 years.
Wow.
So to tie it in with the US in 2020,
Yes.
with everything that was going on around the world with George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, it filtered over into Switzerland. And there was a lot of outcry that came out about this must be removed. It's
Yes. Okay.
ridiculous that this is in a school where you have these impressionable minds and you have something like this on the wall. It was on the stairway as well. So you're coming up and down the stairs, the kids are, so you see this all the time. So now it has been removed from the wall and it is in a museum where they talk about racism and race relations and things like that in Switzerland.
It's
And
so crazy because we're doing the opposite here, like
yes,
we're
yes, yes.
supposed to be, forward thinking country and the number we're not. Just so you
Hmm.
know, if you're here, we're not. USA is not the number one country in the world when it comes to morals and um, thought processes and all of that.
Hmm.
However, in Switzerland, they're actually trying to teach about racism, teach all the children about racism and where it sprang from. And yeah, so that's interesting.
Well, it was very interesting, and talking with guides that met me and gave me sort of an overview of the exhibit because the exhibit is pretty large. So I will be going through some of the documentation, everything that they sent. I haven't had a chance to go through all of it, but definitely will be looking through it. But I got the sense for what they were saying was that you had a lot of people that felt that it should remain there. So
Mm-hmm,
there
mm-hmm,
are there are some layers there that
mm-hmm.
need need to be addressed. And then there were people that felt, well, yeah, it's time for it to come down. And I asked, like, what about age? Is there certain ages, or something like that? And they were like, no, not necessarily.
Just
There were
across the
people that,
board.
yeah, it was across the board that you had some people that felt, well, let it stay up because it is teaching something.
So,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So they were taking the viewpoint of let it stay up so that you can actually see it and teach them in the moment, in
Yes.
real time. Okay, I see.
Some people were thinking that, and then others felt that it should stay there because it's always been there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sounds
And
familiar.
yeah, and there's nothing offensive about it. It should stay there.
Sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Been there for
Okay.
70 years. Stood for 70 years. It can stand for 70 more.
Sounds a lot Confederate flaggish. Okay, so you left Switzerland and then you went where?
Well, I left Lausanne and then I also went to another library where they are documenting and they are putting everything in an archive for a writer named Vincent O. Carter.
Okay.
who you may be familiar with because he's written a couple of different books, but he wrote a book about his life in Bern, which is where he lived as well. He lived some of his born in the U.S. Was in the military, and afterwards moved to Bern. So he talks about his life as a black man in Bern. So that is a book that I have already ordered so that I can read that because I really would like to hear more about his experience and everything. But he also started doing paintings and drawings and things like that. So there is some black culture in Switzerland
So I'm
that
glad I'm glad you sought it out. So is that a thing that you do wherever you go, wherever you land, you're looking to be immersed or make the connection to Black community and culture in that country, or that's just what you did for Switzerland and certain countries?
certain countries, that was in particular what I was doing there in Switzerland, because also the person who is head of Swiss tourism in the U.S. is a black woman,
Oh
and
wow,
so
okay,
so she and I have talked about that. But I will say this also too, that I think I may have been a little more hypersensitive since that's what I was looking for while I was there.
okay.
I had a couple of incidents that I noticed. I put it that way.
Let's get into them. Okay, well, were those incidences? Because
Well,
we're traveling the world, right? We need to know other
yeah,
people's experiences, right? Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. I was on and off the public transportation the whole time I was there, either taking a train, a bus, or a tram at some point the whole time. And I found it interesting when people would get on and they were looking for a seat. Most times they would pass by where I was sitting if there was an empty seat and choose to sit somewhere else.
Okay.
Rarely did someone come and sit by me. So
Okay.
again, I could have been a little hypersensitive on that one.
I think I would have appreciated that because I don't like people up on me. But okay, you notice. Thank you, sit somewhere else. But okay, you noticed
But
it.
and I probably should have had more of that because I came back with a really bad cold. So that's probably where I got it from somebody sitting too close. Because
Yeah.
there were some people when there was no other option but to sit by me, they did. And then I had another incident too where I needed to pass by a woman, and she was really insistent that she was not going to let me pass, that I should go another way. And then when I was trying to go ahead and pass by, she kind of got in my face a little bit. It's like, yeah, yeah, she did. She's like, you have something to say? I was like, well, actually, I think I'm kind of saying it right now that I'm going to pass right here and go my merry
So
way.
wait, it was a standstill? It was a standoff?
A little bit of a standoff there. So I did
Oh,
have a little incident. And then the night before I left, the cashier accused me of stealing a bag.
oh no, Switzerland.
So there's a little bit of work that needs to be done there. But I will say
Oh,
that Switzerland is a beautiful country. I've been many times before and have not had those
okay.
experiences. So that's why I wanted to preface it by
Okay,
maybe I
so
was a
that's
little
good.
hyper.
That this disclaimer was good. You've been there before. This is the one of the times that you had these experiences.
Yes, when I was a little more hypersensitive.
Okay.
When I was checking all of that out.
Okay. 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 So back to you left Switzerland to go where? Did you go to Cancun or New Orleans?
I went to New Orleans before I
Okay.
went to Switzerland, and I was there to cover um, a still pan exhibit, I guess you could really call it, or
Yo,
expedition
I've
of
been trying to get
people.
to. This is what I'm talking about. I'm sorry for interrupting. Listen, this is what I'm so excited. I've been trying to. Steel Pan is one of the festivals that I wanted to go to, and when I seen you went, I'm like, how did she get there? Because I knew you was in Switzerland, so that makes sense that you went there before there. But okay,
Oh,
let me
yeah,
get to Steel Pan.
yeah. Well, this is the thing. I mean, um, Trinidad is definitely known for their steel pan.
Okay.
So they wanted to do a combination with the culture in New Orleans, and it was just a guy named David Thompson, who was looking to at least sort of plant the seed, I guess you could say, to say, oh, there's someone saying hello, hi there,
Thanks for
to plant
joining us, Keela.
plant the seed of possibly doing these kinds of combinations of the cultures. Again,
Hmm.
we're looking at our diaspora and how we can sort of bring together the things that we love and see those things that are similar, and then learn from those things that might be a little bit different. But this was a 1 day event, and it was held in an area where New Orleans has like this whole historical Preservation Center,
Okay.
and it was held there. And it was great. I mean, the still band, I have it on my Facebook page, where you can hear some of it and, hear a little bit of the bands playing. They had a high school group that came over. And what I found really interesting in talking with one of the musicians is that with the steel drums, they can actually play even classical music.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know.
Did they do that for the festival?
Well, they did play some, I wouldn't say classical music at the time that I was there, but they
Okay.
played some everyday, kind of music that, we might be familiar with.
Yes.
Um, that was not necessarily, what we would consider Caribbean or,
Okay.
from the Caribbean. That would be still playing music.
Okay. Okay. So you stay there after the day after the festival? Did you stay in
I
New
was
Orleans?
No, I was only there for one day.
Okay.
But I did have a chance to check out some food and some great places to eat. We went to a place called Dakar, where the chef is from Dakar, Senegal, and actually had a chef that was there also from Trinidad. So they had some really good food. A chance to to do that. So if you're in New Orleans, definitely check out the restaurant Dakar, Dakar, for sure.
So that's one thing, that I noticed about from watching your social media. You in and out. You travel a lot. You are I have to take my time. I need a day to decompress. I need a few days, to get ready to
Mhm.
travel. But your schedule is hectic. You are in and out. Like I said, you was in Switzerland, you be in Botswana, the next thing I know you're somewhere else. Like, how do you what is that about? What is that about? Is it do you feel like you're a nomad at heart or that you're just a globetrotter?
But that's a really good question. I would say definitely a nomad at heart. I am married, have two dogs, so I have to come home.
To
It's a good
see
idea
about
to do
to
that.
see about the other people, right?
It's a good idea to come home sometimes. But I definitely could be one of those people, because there are travelers that don't have a home. I mean, all they do is travel, and I could definitely be that person. Although I would say, at this particular age, because I've been out here roaming the world for for quite a few years now. I am starting to feel a little bit more like I want to be home a little bit more.
Okay.
Um, but for my radio show, I mean, I need the content, so I'm out there, going to places, seeing what's there. I've become a lot more interested in things like history, things like that, the historical aspects of places, a lot about culture and the cuisine. So I enjoy coming back and sharing that with folks on my radio show
Yes.
and helping them and hopefully inspiring people to get off the sofa, and actually go out in the world and have those experiences for for themselves.
And go different places. Go
Mm-hmm.
different places. Like I said, you went to Botswana, you're in Togo, you're out of the tourist areas, right? You explore the places that I want to be. I got my notes. I have my notes here. um, how so we get into the origin story. We'll talk about the radio show, but let's get back into your origin story. When did you said you sat at your father's knee, listened to him talk about his travels. When did you begin to travel?
Well, after I finished college, I was kind of ready to see the world. I always had that travel bug because I grew up with National Geographic magazines coming to our house every month because that was my father's favorite magazine. And, when it would come, we would look through it, to learn about the culture, see the people. So after I finished college, I applied with Pan Am
Okay.
Airlines. And I'm always
For
surprised.
those young bucks, Pan Am was one of the huge airlines, right? For y'all, if
I
you ever seen the show Pan Am with the little cute air flight.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Hey, Kyoka. Hello.
Hi
Yes,
there.
Pan
Hi.
Am used to be one of the major airlines.
It was. I mean, it really was. That it was definitely a dream job. I mean, when I applied with them, you had to have a language, so I spoke enough French to get hired. Oh, she said, yay, good. I run into young people and they're like, I
Yes,
never heard of Pan Am. And the first couple
yes.
of times someone
This is
said that,
when
I
people
mean,
still were they able to smoke on airplanes?
yes, yes.
Yes,
I go back that far.
yes.
You could smoke on the airplane. Hey, everybody could go to the gate. I even go back that far too.
Yes.
This TSA stuff, no, we didn't have that. Everybody went to the gate.
Everybody went to the gate. Okay.
But yeah, so I started with Pan Am. Got hired in Houston, Texas, and then based in New York. And it was, it was one of those kind of jobs that I would say is really a lifestyle job. We would have 15-day layovers in Africa, and 7-day
Wow.
layovers in Japan.
So
So
you
yeah,
were able to enjoy when you traveled back then as a air flight.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it was just one of those things.
So Kyoka, aka the awkward black nomad, said, "Didn't you have to get dressed as a flight attendant too?"
Well, yeah, absolutely. We had our uniforms that were very specific, so you couldn't go outside of the uniform. You had to wear the very specified uniform. Heels had to be a certain height. Your hair could not be too long. If it was long, you had to pull it back. Earrings couldn't be big. So, oh,
And
good.
this and did everybody get even domestic get meals back then?
Yes. Oh no.
Yes.
Oh no. That's a story. Still today, when I am like rushing, I've got to do something really fast. I think about New York, Miami flights. We had to do a drink service, meal service, and then a follow up drink service, and then pick up all the trays on a 2-hour flight.
Some real food. Can you imagine? Can you
Real
imagine if
food.
they still did that domestically? Oh my God.
I mean, these were full meals. So I mean, we had to cook them, everything, and deliver them. So many times, we'd have to call up to the cockpit and say, "We still have trays. We still have trays out there. You can't land yet because you can't land with the tray table down.
Because people eating. Yes.
People are eating. People are eating. But so still today, if I'm like rushing, I'm like, okay, it is the New York JFK Miami flight. Get it done, and I can still get geared up and get it done.
So when you were working for them, when you started working for them, where were you based out of?
So I was based out of New York, out of JFK, and we had flights at that particular time. Pan Am did have some domestic flights, but for the most part, I was flying international. I was doing African trips, flights to London and Switzerland and Sweden, and a lot of I flew a lot to Tokyo. Um, they used to call me Tokyo Rose.
Wow. So
Yeah.
what years were these? Were these your 20s?
Yes, I was in my 20s back in the day, so it was fun times. We would land. The trip to Japan was duty time, meaning the time that we would start for briefings and everything to the time we got to the hotel would be about 25 hours.
Oh, wow.
So when we would get there, we were like geared up. So we would have crew parties where we go to someone's room, order noodles or something like that, and Japanese beer, and have crew parties. So yeah, it was great.
Did y'all have like friends there, like when you landed over there? People who you would get together with?
Some places. I had a lot of friends in Frankfurt. I used to fly trips that would go through Frankfurt, and so I had friends in Frankfurt. So different places, people had friends. Had lots of friends in Africa with 15-day layovers.
So now I know I couldn't do it. Now I couldn't be a flight attendant nowadays. It's too fast. Don't get, you get there, you have to go overnight 2 days. But 15 days, 10 days, you allowed to
Oh
stay
yeah.
there and kick it?
Oh yeah. Although those trips were the best because we would land, and when we would land, the hotel already, I mean, it was already kind of set up because they knew what we wanted to do. We got off the plane, and it was always so neat because a lot of the kids would meet us in Robertsville, Liberia.
Yeah.
I'm talking about for this particular trip. They would meet us, and the kids would want to take our bags and everything, and we bring candy for them. And this, I don't know, this dried fruit. I don't know where to find it now, but at that time, it was packages that came with dried fruit in it, and the kids love that, and they call it flat fruit. So they would come and they were like flat fruit, flat fruit. So we would have flat fruit for them, and they would take our bags up to the hotel. Then we grab a bottle of water, get on a crew bus, and go to the beach, and literally be at the beach all day, sleeping on the beach, eating lunch on the beach, and then we do that for like 2 days. So we do a shuttle to Nairobi through Nigeria, and pick up baskets and shopping and stuff from the
Yes.
airplane.
Yes. That sounds like the life.
Yes,
You understand? Yes.
it was a great. That's why I said it was a lifestyle job. You know, it was a lifestyle job for sure. But
So how
it
long did you
was
stay with them? How long was this journey for you?
well, I was with Pan Am for almost 13 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I was there until the day that Pan Am went out of business,
Wow.
December 4th, 1991, at
I didn't
9:04.
I didn't realize they were around that long.
Yeah, yeah, they went out of business on December 4th at 9:04 in the morning. I know the exact time.
Cause it was cause I know it crushed you. Did it crush you a little bit or were you tired? Were you like
Oh
ready to
no,
take
oh
a
no!
break? Oh wait, we
So where did
lost.
my wonderful job go? Because it was definitely the best job. I would actually say that probably deep down within, every job that I've had since then, I've tried to repeat that job.
Yes.
Replace it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Because
So what
great, you know.
give me one great story from your Pan Am days before we move on.
Well, I would say definitely those Africa trips. The
Uh-huh.
Africa trips were always, you know, for New Year's we would go to. Well, let me back up. Firestone had a big plantation there where they had the rubber trees and everything there,
Okay.
where they would make Firestone make the tires,
Okay.
and we would hang out with the Firestone people. So for New Year's or for the 4th of July, especially for the 4th of July, we have a big party and we go over to like the Firestone area. We'd have food and cookouts and fireworks. And the British Airlines flight attendants were there too. So they were celebrating getting rid of us, and we were celebrating our freedom. So
Yes.
we would have these crazy parties. I'm like, yeah, we got rid of the Brits, and they're like, well, yeah, we got rid of the
We got rid
Americans.
of y'all. Yes.
So it was all fun. It was all fun. But yes, Firestone had a plantation in Liberia. I'm sure they still do.
Liberia. Oh my, have you been back to Liberia since those days?
I have not, and I would love to go back.
Yeah,
So
to
let
do
me
a little
put that out in the
comparison.
universe, because yes,
Yeah.
I'd love to go back.
Okay, so once you left 1991, how did you try to repeat? Like that was the golden years. What did you do after that?
Oh well, after that, I was always a little bit into politics. So I worked on several campaigns.
Okay.
So I started doing a little bit more campaign work. Justice Sears Collins, she was a state justice here in Georgia. So I worked on her campaign and did a little bit of that kind of thing. But then after that, shortly after that, I started working for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And um, of course, Atlanta got the Olympics, so I was there during that time.
Okay.
So worked like a crazy woman, leading up to the Olympics.
I was there. I was in Atlanta during that time. I moved to Atlanta in 91 to go to school, to go
Uh-huh.
to Clark Atlanta University, but I was still there when the Olympics came. So I know it was crazy. I can imagine how crazy it was for people who were working it. My mother actually volunteered there.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, she volunteered at the stadium where the track what was it? Was it Turner Field?
Yeah.
That's where she was volunteering at during that.
Oh wow. Okay. Because I was going to say if she volunteered with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I probably met her.
I can't remember who it was. I still have her information. She passed years ago, but I still have her like the volunteer, the ribbon, everything that
Uh-huh.
they gave her, T-shirt. I still have
Oh wow.
it.
That was another great experience. I mean, it was. I don't think I've ever worked that hard in my life as I did because literally leading up to the Olympics, we slept at the office a couple of days because there was just so much
Wow.
work to be done. But it was great fun, definitely
So
great fun.
what led you? You said did you meet your husband when you were traveling? Was he also a nomad, having a nomad spirit? When did that come about? And I want to get into, does he? You said you're usually a solo travel. It looks like, right?
I do solo travel a lot. So I met my husband when I was still working with Pan Am. Actually,
Okay.
a Pan Am friend of mine, another flight attendant, introduced me. Well, kind of sort of introduced me to him. She invited me to a party where he was, and that's where I met him. But
Okay.
you and I were friends, were best friends for years before we started dating.
Okay.
So he would come. He liked coming and hanging out with the crazy flight attendants because we would have get-togethers and
Y'all were partying. Y'all were in the streets. I can see it. I know.
well, we were too tired to be in the streets. We'd be in somebody's house. We'd be in one of at one of our houses because by the time we got back, from
Yeah.
flying, we were
Yeah.
like ready to be home, but not ready to stop, having some fun. So we would we would usually gather at somebody's house. So he would come over, bring some food because he likes to cook, bring some food, bring his music. He loves jazz. So we just do that until, I don't know, the crazy hours of the morning, and then sleep through the next day. That was kind of the lifestyle at the time.
So
But we,
does he did he when you first start meeting him, did he travel with you? Right? Or did he
no.
allowed you to travel by yourself? Because I always want, like, I don't need, and right now I'm not looking for nobody, but I don't need you to travel with me. I just need you to be able to know that I'm going, I got my passport. I'm gonna get
Right.
on this plane. You can come with me if you want, but like what was the vibe between you all about the travel experience?
Well, believe it or not, my husband has absolutely no interest in traveling.
See?
Not at all.
Different strokes for different folks, right?
Different for
Okay.
different folks. I mean, he has a he loves Hawaii, so when we go on his vacation, we go to Hawaii because he loves it there. We have friends that a bunch of us get together, several couples, so it's a fun time when we go. But no, he has no interest in traveling, but is very very supportive of my career, my travel.
That's all you need, right?
Yeah, yeah, and actually, even sometimes when I'm like, oh, I don't know, he's like, no, you should do it. He said you should do all the traveling that you want to do for as long as you can do it, because life is uncertain, and you're not wanting to always be focusing on, well, you never know. I mean, I don't want to live my life that way, but if there's an opportunity to go and do something, I feel like you should definitely do it.
I
Yeah.
love that for y'all. Yes.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
okay. So what happened first? The property in the island, Sapelo Island, or the radio show? What came first?
So Sapelo is a very interesting story. I mean, I love to share that story because Sapelo is a very special place, especially for those of us that are in the diaspora.
Yes.
Um,
Let's get
uh,
into it.
so if people don't know where Sapelo is one of the islands off the coast of Georgia. The state of Georgia has several islands that are called barrier islands that are right off the coast. Um, some of them you can get to by bridge, but most of them you have to either get there by boat or if there's a ferry that's offered. And Sapelo is one of those ones that um, adjust this thing here because it looks like my head is being cut off. Uh, but Sapelo is one of those ones that is you get there only by ferry.
Okay.
It is one of the islands that where back in the antebellum days there were plantations there, and the descendants of those who worked on the plantations, some of them still live on the island. So you have the Gullah and the Geechee culture there.
Mm-hmm.
You still have people doing things like making the sweetgrass baskets,
Mm-hmm.
the fish nets. They still do like the seine fishing, which is when you take those big nets out into the water and drag it, and then catch the fish in the sea life that way.
Yes.
So you still have a lot of the same cultural things that you can actually still see in West Africa. I was just in Senegal last year and had a chance to see people fishing the same way I see them fishing on Sapelo Island. But anyway, so when my husband and I got married, um, I wasn't really interested in doing like going to Paris or going to Hawaii or that kind of thing. I said, let's just go down to the coast of Georgia because I grew up going to Savannah for holiday. And we chose to go over to Sapelo. And when we got to Sapelo, I had told this woman who had written a book, her name's Cornelia Bailey. I told her that I wanted to meet her when I came over to Sapelo. She'd written
So
a book.
how far, pause for a second. How close is Saint Simon, Little Saint Simon and Saint Simon Island to Sapelo?
Um, by traveling by road, of course, I would say it would probably take you about maybe 30 minutes.
Okay, so okay,
Um,
fairly close. Okay.
yeah, to get to, because now to go to Little St. Simon's, you only get there by
By a boat.
boat.
Yeah.
And same thing with Sapelo, so you'd have to go from ferry dock to ferry dock with that. So
And
we probably
wasn't, I think, one of my favorite movies, Daughters of the Dust. Did they film on Sapelo?
I'm not sure if they filmed on Sapelo, if they filmed somewhere in South Carolina, like in
Okay. All this
New
time I thought
York,
they filmed there. Okay.
or the Fescus or whatever. I mean, they may have done some filming there. Um, but Sapelo still has some of the descendants living there. And my husband and I became very good friends with Cornelia.
Okay.
And she always talked about, wanting to save the culture, save the island, just save the whole kind of pristine way of life on Sapelo. And we were like, we agree. We would go back, driving back to Atlanta, and we would talk about it, and we'd say something needs to be done. So when we were able to buy some property there, we bought some property from Cornelia and her husband. We bought it sight unseen because we just wanted to do whatever we
Wow.
could do,
Okay.
to help. And we sat on it for several years before building something because we just didn't know. We didn't want to be sort of the catalyst to start some, I don't know, building whatever frenzy or whatever
Right. Right.
kind of thing. But we wanted to do something to help keep some of the young people on the island, and really tourism would be the thing. So we built some cottages with also some other friends of ours. Wasn't just us, trying to make that kind of expensive kind of endeavor, and started what we call the Sapelo Island birdhouses. And we call them birdhouses because they are built on stilts because of the regulations.
They're gorgeous. I'm gonna put a link so you can see them under this video, but they are spectacular. And the views, like when you share the views on Instagram, it looks gorgeous. It's really serene, really quiet in certain times, but it's a gorgeous property.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's very, I mean, it's definitely a place to come to disconnect. One thing, because it's not good cell service over there,
Okay.
so you
Off
you
the grid.
actually.
It's a place that, like, yeah, sometimes I need to be off the grid. I don't want to be bothered. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. So you have no choice, but it is good Wi-Fi there. As a matter of fact, it's better Wi-Fi on Sapelo than I have in my other place. But um, so yeah, so I mean, it's great. We started it, and our whole thing was we wanted to hire some of the younger people to provide a way for them to maybe possibly stay on the island, having
Yes.
the kids, having the babies, getting married, doing all that, because that really is how you keep your community strong. Is people have to stay there and have the families and all of that. Um, I mean that wasn't the easiest thing to do because of course as people have the kids and have the families. I mean you got to have a way to earn enough to support them. But we still provided opportunities for them. So we've had people who were born on the island who've worked for us. We still have people who are originally from the island, long family history and legacy on the island that work with us. So I would
Did you
definitely
have
encourage.
to build the houses, or was the foundation there? Did you have to remodel? Like, what was the process?
So we definitely had to build the houses. I mean, we had to clear the land and build the houses
Wow.
and all of that. So yeah, yeah.
Oh,
hmm
so it's from ground up. Okay.
From ground up, yes. Uh-huh.
And what year was this? When did you start the process?
So I would say this was like 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was 2011, 2010, somewhere around that time. Yep. So we built them and it's been going strong. So now you can find them on Airbnb or you can contact us, directly either way. Um, and we have, I mean, it goes really well. I mean, it's a great business to have. There's other people on the island now who have Airbnb and have short-term rental houses. So it's
When is the festival? I know there's a gala festival there.
yes, that is usually in October,
Okay.
mid October. I haven't heard any date for 2025, but yeah, definitely keep checking because that's a really good event to attend to. You get a really good feel of the island and really the gala and the Geechee culture as well.
So if it's not the festival and someone wants to rent the birdhouse, right?
Mhm.
Um like, is there like restaurants around here where they have to cook? Like, what is the amenities around the area? Because I know it's remote.
It's very remote, so it is a self-catering island for the most part. Uh,
Okay.
so anyone coming to the island would need to bring some of their food. But the good thing is that through the years, um, people have come to the island saying, "I can't believe there's no place. There got to be places to eat." So there are ladies on the island who, through the years, have started preparing meals because
Yes, that's all we need. I just need somebody who know how to cook. Yes.
oh, they know how to cook over there. Oh,
Yes.
my favorite thing is like a dinner of like fried chicken, rice and gravy, some lima beans or some green beans, macaroni and cheese. I mean, yeah, they know how to cook over there. And the
Yes.
other thing too is that you can go crabbing, you can go shrimp, you can do all of that fishing and everything. Need to get your license though, the Georgia license you can get them right online. But yeah, you can do all of that as well, or have them do it. They
I
do
was gonna
low
say,
country
hire
bowl.
somebody to do it. Yes, that's the package. Do you offer that package with your bird houses?
We don't offer the package with
Okay.
us, but we give the telephone number and the information so you can contact the ladies, tell them what you want. I mean, they can even do things like if you're a vegan or you have certain allergies and that kind of thing, they can work with you with that. These ladies, they can cook. Well, the
Listen,
guys
I'm
can
coming to
cook
eat
too.
gullah food. I want the gullah geechee. I want
Yeah.
whatever you gonna cook, whatever you cook for your family. That's what I want. That's what I want to eat. Yes,
You definitely want to get that low country boil where you get all the seafood in there.
yes, yes. So yes,
Absolutely.
for anyone who's interested, who's hearing this, I'm gonna put the link to the Airbnb to rent the birdhouse out. But that's when I think that's when I started. That's when I started following you
Mhm.
from the birdhouse, from you talking about the birdhouses.
Yes,
So yeah,
yes.
it was a while ago. And then I realized, oh, okay, she's doing all of these other things. So let's talk about the radio show. How did that come about? The radio show is called what for the people who don't know?
Well, it's very simple for me to remember it as well. Travel with Annita. So
And where can they find
definitely.
it?
Well, you can find it. Well, you can definitely listen online. So you can go to my website, travelwithanita.com, and there's a link there. My show comes on every other Saturday. I used to do every Saturday, but I did mention earlier that when you get a little older, sometimes I have to slow down.
Yes. We want to do the things we love, but at our own pace. Yes.
Right, exactly, exactly. But yeah, so you can catch me. I don't have a show this coming Saturday, but I have one the next Saturday, and I think I'm going to do. I'm talking, now putting the show together, but it will probably be the trip I did down to Cancun recently. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
So
so
let's talk about that. Why were you in Cancun? This is what I mean. She is everywhere. You went from New Orleans to Switzerland to Cancun,
no Cancun to New
New
Orleans to
Orleans
Switzerland.
to Switzerland. Okay.
Mhm. Well, I was in Cancun to do a review of a hotel, of a resort, and I was there on Cinco de Mayo. So I
Oh,
was like,
okay.
well, let me check out and see what happens in Mexico on Cinco de Mayo. And you know what they said to me? They were like, that's an
You
American
don't
holiday.
celebrate it, yeah? That's what I know. They don't celebrate that. Yes,
Well, we don't celebrate that, but they said,
we
but
bastardize everything over here. We just take it and make it up, and no
we make it
General
up.
Tso's chicken over here. When you go to China, like what? What is that? No, no, we don't do that.
Exactly. They're like, we don't do that. But they said, but we have a little something for you. So they did. They had music, that they were playing. They had also too, taco bars and some games to play. So they did pull out the stops for us Americans that were there looking for our little Cinco de Mayo there. Because
So
I had to,
embarrassing. That's so embarrassing.
like, where is my margarita? Give
Ah,
it to me. Give me my margarita, my tacos. But beautiful property, and right on the beach. Seven different swimming pools. I mean, it's a really nice property. It's
okay, so
huge.
let's get into the invite. How you get there? So you're on the radio show. Did they contact the radio show to invite you there? I'm taking notes because this is the life I want to lead. I do. I travel by myself, but I want to get into the invitations. Like the invitations,
Yeah.
invite me there. How did you? Do they contact the radio show?
Well, actually, no, they don't contact the radio station per se. So when I started the radio show, um, I knew that I wanted to like expand it out to be more like a journalist.
Yes.
So through the years, because I've been doing this now for 13 years, through the years, I've developed a lot of relationships. And for anyone wanting to get into, the travel blogging, the travel, content creation or influence or anything like that, it is all about the relationships.
Got you.
It's all about the relationships. And I know that's said a lot for different things, but in the travel industry, the symbol for the travel industry is a pineapple. That means, welcome, relationships, all of that is really what it's supposed to stand for. So they're
Okay.
really serious about that. But I get invited from the public relations firms that are doing all of the promotions and everything for the hotels or the airlines or the destinations, whichever it might be, like the Switzerland trip. I was working with Swiss tourism and their internal PR people. So it's always with the public relations people.
But
So
it starts
getting
with you reaching out to different organizations or different tourism.
Yes, yes, yes. It can start that way. For someone wanting to get into the business, I would say that you would want to start checking out some of the like travel shows.
Gotcha.
Like the adventure travel show goes to several different cities. So going to that and just talking to people, telling them, you like to come to their destination and, asking questions about it. Seeing if any of their public relations or, their marketing people are there at that particular show. And then there's like TBEX also too is an organization that works directly with travel bloggers. Um, and I think TBEX stands for Travel Blogger Exchange or something like that.
Okay.
But T-Bex, if you Google T-Bex, Tebex, you'll find it. So when they have their particular conferences, that is an excellent way to go and see if it's something you really, really want to get involved in. Because it can be a little bit competitive. I mean, there are a lot of people,
And there's
who
a
are
lot of
doing
people
it.
trying to do it now,
Yeah, a
right?
lot of
A
people trying
lot
to.
of people doing it now, especially with social media. But it starts with you forming and forging those relationships.
Absolutely, absolutely, and go ahead and set up a website. I mean, there are a lot of different apps and different sites and places like that where you can set up even like a little small website where when you go, maybe it's when you're going out to eat,
Hmm.
start recording that and do a little write up about what you ate and maybe the chef or maybe something about the restaurant, what you drank. Take the pictures, post those so that you have some material to show also, what you've done. Or even if you go on like a little road trip, or even when you're going to, don't discount things like traveling to, a sporting event. Or
Yes.
traveling to see family, or maybe you're going to see your grandparents, or you're going on a some type of excursion or something that you're doing. Make that into a post and write about it.
And start with what you like, right? If you're a foodie, then do the food.
Yeah.
If you like sports, then do sports. If you are art, culture, museum, do that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And another little tip too, when you go to a lot of these websites, like for different destinations, you may go to see, well, what are some of the things I want to see and do? Look down under the part there where it says "Contact Us" and see what you see there, because maybe there's even a link where it may say something like, write for us, or send an article to us. So sometimes you even can find those things there as well.
Okay, so this is why I brought you here. I hope people. I see two people in here. If you have any questions, if this is what you're here for, you're getting this good content. Please like the video. Please share it with people who you think may be interested. People who want to live a travel blogger's life, who wants to live a globe-trotting life. She is
Mhm.
giving jewels today. I'm taking notes. So how did you start? How did you begin? Because you had the travel experience. You were with Pan Am. Um, you created the property. You built the property up. How did you start forging your relationships? Before was it before you got the radio program? Before you were a radio personality?
Actually, I would say for what I'm doing now is definitely after the radio show.
Okay.
So when I started with the radio show, that was really a way for me. It was like a door open for me, because of course people want to promote their destination on the
Yes.
radio, and I know podcasts and things like that are really popular now, but radio, when I started, there wasn't a lot of podcasts, so people were,
13 years ago, no, there weren't. No.
yeah, I mean, podcasts were just kind of starting at that
Hmm.
particular time, and I would get some people that would say things like, "Well, how can you promote travel on, just talking about it, because people want to see it?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, they can go to my website and I'll post some pictures there." but it was just a way for me to start talking about different destinations. I would just reach out to the tourism boards. Um, you can find the tourism boards online.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever, Jamaica tourism or Atlanta, tourism. Just Google those kinds of things, and start making those relationships. And saying you want to write an article about them, because
Yes.
if you're offering something but not necessarily asking for something, you can also get started that way as well. Because you got to have some material in order to start getting paid, or start getting some type of compensation for it.
Yes. You have to have something to show them to say that you can do
Exactly,
this. Mm-hmm.
exactly. So that was my way, and I just started reaching out, to different tourism companies. And actually, when I started, I have a cousin who was a travel agent, so she had a couple of contacts with different destinations and different cruise lines and things like that. So we reached out to some of them, and they were excited, to be on a radio show. And
Yes.
so yeah, so it just started from that, and then I joined an organization called SATW, the Society of American Travel Writers.
Okay.
And,
You
when I
be at all the conferences, all the all the
you
travel.
have to. You have
Mm-hmm.
to. I am a firm believer in joining organizations and conferences and things like that, because that's where the people are. That's where,
That's where you smooth. That's where you make the
yeah,
connections, right? Yeah.
exactly. That's where your connections are there. So you definitely, even if you're just starting, that's why I mentioned T-Bex, because T-Bex is great for people who are just starting. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So I want to get into your experiences. Alaska, you're in Alaska, you're in Benin, you're in all of these places, right? Just everywhere. What are your top? Give me top three countries you've traveled to.
Well, I was going to mention something about my safari that I did last year,
Okay.
because I'm a firm believer that you should, with travel, you should step outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Well, last year, um, I had a chance to go to Alaska to something called the Bear Camp. And the Bear Camp, you actually was sleeping out with brown bears up in Alaska. Now, there was an electric fence that was around like the tents, but you're sleeping with the bears, and we go and we do bear watching and everything. And I was invited to do this, by the PR firm. And my whole thing was that, wow, that sounds really pretty cool. But when I got there, I realized that there's like a little electric fence that probably hits right at like hip level. So it's not like a big fence.
Oh, they can jump over the fence.
I guess they could if they wanted to, absolutely. But talking about stepping outside of your comfort zone. So I was like, okay, so I feel like, 2024, I did it. I stepped outside of my comfort zone. But right after that trip, I was invited to go to Botswana.
Okay,
And
wait, back up. Did you see bears? Did they come to the fence? Did they? What was
oh,
the experience like?
we saw all kinds of bears. I mean, when we would go and do bear watch, we would leave our sort of electrified area and walk down to this viewing area. So you're walking through the woods where the bears could come.
Okay.
And one day, a mom and her cub, came through, and luckily, we were at a spot where we could kind of just stop, step back, and let her pass, and not have her feel threatened by us. But yeah, we saw a lot of bears, a lot of
But they
bears.
stayed to their side. They stayed on their side.
Oh, the bears pretty much were just kind of busy grazing and
Okay.
eating.
Okay. So it
So
was like a it was
yeah,
like an open zoo, basically. You were
uh-huh,
able to
yeah.
view their in their habitat.
In their habitat, you could see them, and for the most part, most of the ones that we saw were not close up. But the
Okay.
mom and her cub, she walked right by us.
Oh,
And I think
okay.
we,
That
we
is
were
an
all holding our
experience.
breath. Like, okay, don't move. Don't even breathe.
Don't touch her cubs. That's all. Just leave her cubs alone. You good.
We're good. We're good. So I felt like I'd had my, out of my comfort zone kind of moment.
Yes, your once in a lifetime experience. Yes.
So I go to Botswana. I've wanted to go to Botswana. When I was with Pan Am, I flew to Africa a lot, like I mentioned, but never got a chance to go to Botswana. Just always wanted to go to Botswana and ride on one of those dugout canoes, through the reeds and the water and all that stuff. So I had a chance to do that, to go to our campsite.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, okay, we're camping out again. Okay, camping out literally. If I thought that was out of my comfort zone with the electric fence, We're like literally camping where they're putting up the tents
Intense in Botswana.
in Botswana, putting up the tents where elephants are like, 20 feet over in that direction. Hippos are in the water out over
Oh
here.
my
Hear the
God.
lions roaring, back behind you. So I was like, well, where are we staying? They were like, we're staying at
Where
the
do we
tent.
go after this? Where is the location?
Where's the hotel?
No, ma'am. We right here.
This is your home for 2 nights or 3 nights, however it
And
was.
it's not a glam camp. It's not a tent like a
No,
with the
it's what they
bed with
put
the
up. They construct,
yeah.
they put it up for us. So my tent, the tent that I chose, when I was thinking, well, this one looks like it's kind of tucked away, so I chose that one. So the guy said, well, make sure you keep, because you know how with tents you can unzip like the flap that's like the
Yeah, yeah.
window to let the air come through. He said, make sure you keep it zipped because if the elephants come through, they will
Put their
they
trunks in the tent.
no, they will be chewing. They like to chew like the bark and stuff off the trees,
No,
and that
ma'am.
you don't want it, you don't want one of the limbs to fall inside. So it's like the an elephant would be like right here, be like
What?
right
How
here.
long? Wait, was it overnight? Was it one night?
It was like 3 nights,
Oh, oh, oh,
but I'm there now, so I mean, there's no leaving, So I gotta get out of my comfort zone, right?
oh no. But
So,
I'm
but
sure it was beautiful. I'm sure it was beautiful, right?
it was very nice, but camping in the wild, they call it wild camping. Camping in the wild is it's different.
Did they not describe this is okay, wait. Because you were looking for the hotel. Did they not describe this before you signed up, or you just be going by the seat of your pants, like, okay, let me do this?
I will say that I do a little bit of both. So yes, they did describe it, but I think what I thought it was going to be was that it would be somehow that there would be some more security. And when I
Like
say
glamping, kinda. You thought it was like a glamping
or, or
almost.
or something maybe similar to how it was in Alaska, where you have
Okay.
something that guards you. So I knew
Okay.
we would be camping and everything, but I didn't think that
Or like
the
the giraffes, like how they had the giraffe hotel. The hotel is there, and
yeah.
the giraffes come up to the hotel, something like
Yeah.
that.
I just thought it would be a little bit more the people that were our guides would maybe somehow be camping near us and be there to be alert in case something happened. No, they were camping way over on the other side.
They left you
No, they didn't leave us, but they were not in positions like protecting you.
right to get there quickly if something happened.
No, they were in their tents over on the side, and our tents were kind of scattered all around where they were set up. And get this, because you would think our guides, right, would have some kind of guns or something. They
No,
had long poles,
no, oh,
and we did walking safaris, not in
not
jeep.
in no tractor or
No, we
no
did walking.
jeep.
Yes, walking safaris. Yes.
Wow.
So you see elephants wherever on the side. You see zebras. We did not run into any lions on our walking safaris, thank goodness. And I love lions, so I was kind of sort of hoping to see a lion, but we saw lions later on when we were in the jeeps.
So how
And we,
many of you were there
um, of the people like myself that were on the tour,
in the group? Yeah.
there- I think there were like 12 of us.
Okay.
Then we had one guy that was like our main guide. And then we had two or three other guides that were with us.
That's a good
Then we
number. If something is that's a good number, like if you got to get away, if
Yeah,
you
if I
got to
gotta
get
get
away
away,
quick,
like let me see who I can run faster than.
yes, yes, ma'am. What?
I mean, who can I outrun?
Yes, that's
But no, but
hilarious. But it sounds like a once in a lifetime experience. Yes.
I would highly recommend it. Now, I would say to look very carefully at the itinerary because there are some itineraries on these type safaris like this where the whole trip is wild camping. One of my
Okay.
friends did one where she didn't realize that the whole thing would be wild camping. So I think she was there 11 days, something like that. And of those 11 days, I think 8 or 9 of them were
Yeah, that's
wild.
a long time. And if you're walking, that's a lot of walking. It's a lot
Oh
of
yeah, it's a lot of
hiking.
walking.
Yeah.
A lot of walking. The food was good. I mean, the guy that was doing our cooking, the food was good, and we had fun sitting around the campfire at night. But I will say, I would sit around the campfire for a little while, and I would go right to bed because my thought was, if an elephant's going to come and step on my on my tent and crush it down, I don't want to hear it coming.
I just want to be I just want to be sleep. I want to sleep
I just
through
want
it.
to whatever happens, I'll know about it on the other side.
Oh my god. Oh, that's hilarious.
But
Okay.
definitely, definitely. I mean, Botswana is one. Botswana is a very special, special, special place. And then Zimbabwe, that's where Victoria Falls is.
Was
Uh,
this last year or this year?
it was last year. It was
Last year. Okay. So
last July.
Zimbabwe, Victoria Falls. Okay.
So Victoria Falls, definitely want to go there. Seeing those falls is just magnificent. I mean, it really is. Definitely want to. If you can get to even South Africa, you want to go over to Zimbabwe. So that's an easy connection there, even if you don't make it all the way to Botswana. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I
Mhm.
see some people in the chat. If you have any questions about the country, about Botswana, about Zimbabwe, please put them in the chat so that we can ask and get to them. I have a question. You went cruising on the Nile,
Yes.
ma'am, ma'am, cruising on the Nile.
I know. Well, see, first of all, I just love the sound of that.
Yes, that's what you. I repeated it 3 times.
Yes,
Oh my God.
I love the sound. Yeah, you can say it again and again and again. I love.
Listen, this is this when I say this is the life that I'm trying to live is what I mean. It's this is what I mean. Yes.
It, excuse me. I'm sorry. I have a cold,
She
but
has a call. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry about that. I had to like catch my breath there. But yes, I mean, cruising the Nile was amazing. I've been to Egypt before with Pan Am, uh, but I had wanted to go back, and it had been quite a few years, since I had been there the first time, and I did not cruise down. I cruised across the Nile when I was there before, but cruising up and down the Nile, I'll tell you, Egypt still has, of course, it has its big cities, but it still has those small villages
Mm-hmm.
that you feel like you are going back in time, even like biblical time. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
see the camels, you see, the donkeys, and people. Their mode of transportation is like a carriage drawn by donkeys and stuff. So it's very, very fascinating. I would say that is definitely one. You asked about top trips. That would definitely be one of the top trips. Going to
Yes.
Egypt.
What
Mhm.
else did you do while you were over there? How long did you stay?
Well, this was a 11-day cruise. Yeah, I was thinking it was 11 days. So we had a chance to. We started in Cairo, and then we flew down to Aswan, which is where you will find the Ramses. Now cruise is on her list, where you find the Ramses temple and
Yes.
all of the different temples. But here's something that I found out. I did not know this. As African Americans, we hear a lot about Nefertiti, but it's actually Nefertari.
Sorry. Mm-hmm.
That is the one that is supposedly Nubian.
Yes.
But Egypt is really kind of interesting because while we were there, we talked to our tour guide about them saying that this or that was Egyptian and not
Mm-hmm.
African.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, well,
When you
isn't
then
Egypt?
you have to get into Kush and like what was it? What
Mhm.
was the countries called back then? You have to get into all of that. Yes, and then arguments ensue. Mm-hmm.
Right, and there's always, well, it seems like there's going to be this pushback to be more about the nationalism as instead of the race.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the people on the trip asked about, well, why do you keep referring to just as Egypt and not Africa, because Egypt is
Mm-hmm.
in Africa. She said, well, we're very proud of our nationality, so we always say Egyptian. It's like, well, okay, but there are all these other countries that are like right here. She said, well, yeah, but those are places that we then consider to be Africa.
Ah, so they're like separatists.
It's very, very
Uh-huh.
separate with that. So then when the whole thing about Nefertari comes up, we asked, well, was Nefertari Nubian? She said, well, our particular Egyptologist said yes, that Nefertari was Nubian.
Okay, well at least they agree on that. Okay.
hmm But when you
But
do
they
a
don't
little,
celebrate her. They celebrate
well,
Nefertiti.
well, what I found to be interesting is that I really didn't know that much about Nefertari, but I didn't realize that she was one of the wives of Ramses II, I believe it was,
Yeah. Hmm.
and that she has her own temple, huge temple down in Aswan, because Aswan is definitely one of those places where you would want to go and visit because those temples are just so huge. And I have some on my Facebook page, some pictures from it. Um,
It'll be
but
down.
yeah,
The link. The link is below. Okay.
yeah, but the whole story of Nefertari and how she was like the beloved wife of Ramsey, and that's why he built the temple for her and everything. But supposedly because she was Nubian, there was a little bit of controversy around it. But then when you do the research, a lot of people say no, she was not Nubian. So
Listen, I'm gonna claim. I'm gonna claim her. I'm gonna claim Nefertari, and I'm gonna claim all of them until
all
you
of
can tell me why y'all separate in Egypt from Africa, like you said. Okay.
them. And we had one day where we went to Nubian village, and that was really interesting. So I was called, the brown sugar, the brown queen, the African queen. I had so many names while I was while I was in the Nubian village. So I was like, I might need to stay here for a little while.
I like this.
Uh,
Yes.
I like this, but it was great. And then we had a chance to just spend time going into some of the shops and things like that. There's a lot of markets to buy stuff. Some of the vendors could be a little bit aggressive, uh, but,
Okay.
but also too we went to Luxor where you can go to the Valley of the Kings and
Okay.
actually see King Tut. Still there. You can actually view his the mommy of King Tut, so you can actually see that.
So did you go with the group? Did you book a trip, or did you go solo and figure it out yourself, or where you went through like a group package thing?
Well, this was a work trip again, so I was
Okay.
invited. I was invited to go on this, and a lot of times when I'm invited on cruises, I can bring a guest with me,
Okay.
and my best friend, her name's Yvette. A lot of times will come along with me. So my
Okay.
best friend
Okay.
Yvette
I'm
was
like, who's taking the pictures? Okay, because I thought your husband may be traveling, but it's usually Yvette. Okay.
yeah, Yvette travels with me a lot, and on this particular trip, one of our other friends had always wanted to go to Egypt, so she actually booked the cruise herself, and she came along. So there were three
Okay.
of us, kind of hung out together. But no, but it was a definite working trip for me. And on these trips, because my friends are always like, "Oh, you're not working. You're just kind of, that's like a vacation for you." But
No,
on
I'm
this,
taking notes. I'm paying attention. Yeah.
I'm running around getting interviews.
Yes.
So yeah, so there's a lot of work, and usually also too I have other deadlines I'm working on because I actually also write as well for a couple of publications. So I usually have deadlines. So I'm usually working as well with trying to get an article finished. So it's definitely work because my friend Yvette, I think it was maybe the first or second trip she took with me, and she woke me up at like 2 o'clock in the morning because I had fallen asleep with my hands like this on the computer. She
That was
said,
a work trip for real. Oh my God.
yeah. She said, "Now I believe you." She said,
Yes.
she said, "If anybody ever says you're just going on vacation, tell them to call me because
Like
I
this is
have been
the
doing it."
life of ease. This is the life of ease. No, it's not. I'm working.
I know. I no those late nights trying to get stuff finished and everything before the next day. Because when you're on these trips, I mean, they expect you to give your full attention.
Yes.
So you have to fit all the other stuff in. If I have deadlines on someone else's work, they're not wanting me to take the time away.
So let's talk about that because I did say we were going to talk about that in some of the description. Managing this, right? Because you're writing your own blog, you're writing for other magazines, you're doing radio shows, you're traveling, being on the road traveling all the time. How do you manage? How do you manage your calendar?
Well, I tell you, I mean, it really it is sticking to the deadlines and putting deadlines in place because I have to do that for myself because I mean, I'll tell you, I can get scattered to here and over to that and that kind of thing, very easy. I'm one of those people that can start working on something. And it's like, oh, I got to finish that. I got to
Yeah.
finish. So I find for me, if I give myself time slots, so I'll give like 2 hours to work on something. And then
Okay.
I'll give myself maybe, a break or something like that. Because I firmly believe also too in breaks, throughout my work day. And this
Okay.
what I'm talking about now is more about when I'm home.
Yes.
But I give myself a little break. I have two dogs, so I usually go and do something with them. I might take them on a walk, or just kind of push away from the desk for a little bit, and then come back and maybe put another 2 3 hours in something else. But a lot of
So it's
times when
not blocked off. Like it's not okay. Monday I'm working on the radio show stuff, and then Tuesday I'm working on the pitch line. Do you do that too, or do you multi days, multi projects per day?
Yeah, sometimes I do need to block it off, like what you just mentioned,
Okay.
especially when I have a radio show coming up. So this week I don't have a show coming up this Saturday, but next week there'll be at least 2 days where I'll be pretty much focused on getting that show really edited and getting it ready for to air. So it would be more of probably 4 or 5 hours that I'll work on that, take a break or that kind of thing. But when I'm on the road, I really try and get everything wrapped up as much as I can before I go on a trip. Because on these trips where I'm working, the public relations or someone who has invited me is usually there with me.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not like I can scoot off and say, "Oh, I got to go finish this article," instead of going to dinner or instead of going to some activity that night. They're like,
No, they
"No,
need your attention. You are
uh,
here to do this. Yeah.
you're going to do this." So I try to get things pretty much wrapped up as much as I can. But then if not, because sometimes I do have to work on the road for, a lot of times I have to work on the road, I will sort of cut the night short. I won't extend past, you know, I guess what I have to do, I guess I can say it that way, and just do something extra if I need to work on the deadline. Because the thing is that whoever's expecting me to finish whatever the deadline is for, they're expecting that as well. So
Right.
you just have to fit it in. But self care is important though. I mean, you can't let yourself get too stressed out. A lot of times too, if I know I have a big trip coming up, because I have done some trips that are 14 days, 22 days, that kind of thing. If I know I have a big trip like that coming up, I definitely try and get more stuff done before I leave, so that I'm not stressing out.
Do you have an assistant, or you're doing this all on your own?
I do. I have someone who helps me with like the Sapelo things. I have that. I've had interns. I don't have an intern right now, but I've had interns and I've had someone who helps with writing, with me. So
I'm applying. I'm putting in my application. Where did it send? Where did I send?
I saw that hand
Listen,
go up.
where did I send my application
Oh
now?
yeah, I saw that hand go up.
So, okay, let's get back to the experiences. Have you been somewhere where you think, okay, I can live here? Like, have you been? Is there anywhere that's been pulling you back that you've gone multiple times? It feels like that's your center place, aside from where you live with your husband.
That's a really good question. I can't say that I really have some place that makes me feel as though I could pack up and move there.
Okay.
Um, I really, really like Africa a lot. So I enjoy going there multiple times. But I want to kind of speak a little bit also too about this whole thing where people have bucket lists.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer. I don't try and live other people's lives or that kind of stuff. So I'm not, if somebody wants to do bucket lists, I mean certainly they can do that. But I think when you look at travel from the standpoint of checking things off, I think you kind of miss some opportunities because, for instance, if I had done that with Egypt, since I went way back
Yeah.
when,
Mm-hmm.
this opportunity that I had 2 months ago now, a month and a half ago, to go to Egypt, if I had missed that, I would have missed such a wonderful experience that
Experience.
really it just adds to the first one that I had. So I think that if you have places that you find are really interesting and you want to go back again, you should definitely go back again. May not be that you want to live there, but go back, 5 years later and just see how things have changed. Or, go back, if there's a place that you wanted to go and you didn't get a chance to see it while you were there, definitely go back and check it out because there's so many more experiences you can have in a place where you visited before.
And even if you didn't enjoy, right? If you didn't per se like the experience, give it
Hmm.
another try.
Yep. Give it
You
another
know,
try.
go to another part of the country where that experience may be different.
Exactly. Exactly. Always be open. Definitely, because travel is one of those things that really can open your mind, can open your heart. I mean, you learn so much. You get a chance to experience so much, and those are the things that you carry through life with you.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
those
So since
no,
we're on the subject, since you brought it up, what has this traveling pilgrimage throughout your whole life, what has it taught you about yourself, right? And about the world? Let's start with yourself. What has it taught you? What have you gained from this journey?
I think for me again, because that's another really good question. I would say that through these years of roaming the world, um, that I've learned that when you see behavior, it's people behavior. A lot of times we try and say, this group of people is like this or that group of people is like that, almost judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
That, human beings are human beings, and you find similarities all around the world. There are more similarities, I like to say, than there are differences when you really stop and think about it. And people are just, people are living their lives. I mean, people anywhere in the world, we all want the same thing. We want love, we want, companionship, we want to be cared for, we want to feel as though we're valued, and that, the things that are important to us are important. So that doesn't change just because you're in another country or a different culture. It may look a little different.
Yeah.
The the similarity is really at the core of it. So I would say that is one of the things that I've learned about travel and just about the world. But for myself, I think that it has taught me to be not a judgmental person, but accepting
Mhm.
people for who they are and for what they want out of life, instead of trying to put what my morals or my values or my
Yes.
beliefs onto someone else. That let people kind of be how they are, as long as they're not hurting anyone. You can't do that.
Right. It
Should be out
expands your
there.
understanding, right?
Mhm.
It expands your experience, one, but your understanding of how different countries, different people, different social norms, how all of that, you know, affects their lives, affects your life, how
Mhm.
all that comes together. We're not only Americans, but other people, maybe people from, UK, they take that and expect, they go to different countries and expect it to be the same, right? Or
Right.
they expect people to
Mhm.
be the same or society
Mhm.
to work the same. Travel
Mhm.
brings you out of that. It pushes you out of that, out of your comfort zone.
It does. It really does. And if you open yourself to that experience, then you'll learn something from it.
Hmm.
You'll gain something from it. So just always being open to new experiences, and really trying to um, to make each experience be its own experience also. It's not like I'm trying to go and then compare, well, last time I did this
Yes.
or when I did that, or but just letting each experience kind of open up to be what it's going to be.
To live in the moment,
Live in the moment.
live in
Absolutely.
that moment.
Hmm.
I think that is a great point to end on. I love this interview. We're gonna have to have you back. We're gonna have to have you back.
Just let
Um,
me know. I'll be happy to come back.
we're pushing to an hour and a half, and I know these attention spans. But this has been a great conversation. If you are here, still here with me, thank you for those who
Yeah,
have
thank you
joined
too.
us throughout. If you are here still, please like the video. Please share this video for other Globetrotters, people who love to travel, people who are thinking about traveling as a career, how to make that happen. She dropped some great jewels. Annita, thank you for saying yes and taking time, even though you didn't feel well.
Well, hey, I didn't sneeze or cough.
You
That's a
didn't.
major accomplishment.
You did
I had
not.
one little moment where I thought I was going to sneeze, but it was okay. But no
Thank
coughing.
you so much. This has been great. I love this. I'm putting my application um, for all her information, to the links to her radio show, the links to rent the Supalo Island Burr House will be under this video. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you to those who joined us here on live, and thank you to those who will join afterwards as well. Really
Yes,
appreciate
in the
it.
replay.
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
thank
well, we're going to sign off. Thank you all again, and we'll see you soon.
you. Bye, everybody.